So let's look at example 1, proposition, information, true versus false. Diego says, the professor to the Vorport Hotel professor to example 2, Luke, send me the PDF. So let's look at example 1, proposition, information, true versus false. Diego says, the professor to the Vorport Hotel professor to example 2, Luke, send me the PDF.
Episode 46, Appraisal Theory and Interpersonal Metafunction, enhanced hashtag LukeScene1, Introduction. Welcome back to Volume 3. In Volume 1, I introduced the three metafunctions: ideational, that is logical plus experiential, interpersonal, and textual. I also introduced the distinction between modalization and modulation, which is foundational for what we're doing today. Modalization is about information exchange, probability, usuality, and modulation is about goods and services exchange, obligation, insistence. Propositions can be challenged as true or false. Proposals can be accepted or rejected. Example 1. Proposition, information, true versus false. Diego says, the professor goes to the Voraport Hotel every Tuesday. This is a proposition. It can be challenged as true or false, not rejected. Tao Tao could say, that's not true. He skips some Tuesdays and stays with me. Example 2. Proposals can be accepted or rejected. Example 2. Professor to Luke. Luke, send me the PDF. This is a proposal. Luke can accept, I'll send it. Or reject, I can't right now, Wi-Fi is down here. In Volume 2, we covered the logical metafunction in depth. We went into expansion, projection, locution, interpersonal projection, all the notational devices, parataxis, hypotaxis, the logical relations of extension, enhancement, and projection. We covered all of this in detail. Then we covered the two grammatical metaphors, ideational grammatical metaphor and interpersonal grammatical metaphor. For example, duck feeding is strictly forbidden is an interpersonal grammatical metaphor. It's expressing obligation through a declarative structure. It is absolutely forbidden would be an ideational grammatical metaphor, reconfiguring the process through nominalization and intensification. So this is where we're standing with Volume 2. Today, we're returning to the interpersonal metafunction. This is the metafunction that goes with tenor, the relationship between speaker and listener, the power and distance dynamics, the social roles. Let me remind you of the basics. In the interpersonal metafunction, we have the subject and the finite. The subject is the entity responsible for the proposition or proposal. The finite is the verbal operator that locates the process in time or modality, past, present, future, probability, obligation, usuality, insistence. When we talk about modality, we're talking about the space between yes and no. There are two types. Modalization. This is about information exchange. It's the speaker's assessment of probability, it might rain, or usuality, he usually comes. These are propositions. They can be challenged as true or false. Modulation. This is about goods and services exchange. It's the speaker's assessment of obligation, you must go, or insistence, you should do this. These are proposals. They can be accepted or rejected. So here's the foundational distinction, which I introduced in Volume 1. Modalization equals information equals proposition equals probability / usuality. Modulation equals goods and services equals proposal equals obligation / insistence. Every utterance makes a choice here. And now we're adding appraisal theory, Martin's framework for how language evaluates, positions, and does interpersonal work within those choices. Appraisal theory has three domains. First, attitude. This is about feeling. There are three subtypes: affect, how we feel, I'm afraid, I'm happy. Judgment, how we evaluate behavior, he's brave, she's careless. appreciation, how we evaluate things. This is beautiful. That's a terrible idea. Second, engagement. This is about source positioning, where the voice comes from. Monogloss, single voice, no other positions. The sky is blue. Heterogloss, multiple voices, dialogic expansion or contraction expansion, you're opening the dialogue. Perhaps some people say contraction, you're closing the dialogue. Obviously, you must. Third, graduation. This is about force and focus. Force, intensity or quantity, very, extremely, a lot. Focus, sharpening or softening a category, kind of, sort of, precisely. Now here's where it all connects. Attitude, engagement, and graduation don't exist in a vacuum. They're embedded in modulation and modalization. When I say you must consider this, I'm using modulation, obligation, and I'm also contracting the dialogue, engagement. When I say it might be true, I'm using modalization, probability, and I'm expanding the dialogue. Before we continue, Tao Tao is here with me. He's sitting there watching me, like I've just killed my YouTube channel with all this information. I think he wants me to go more easy. I don't go anywhere without him, not even to lectures at Barcelona University. I use him in examples because he's a constant. Also, Luke and Harry are online, amongst others. They're both watching, well, at least Luke. And I want to thank Luke again, for the third time, for taking notes and making the full transcript available to the audience.
Me and Harry in their London room. Luke is taking notes, looking confused. Harry is playing Minecraft, barely paying attention. Professor, I'm taking notes, but I'm still confused. You talked about appraisal theory, but I don't really get how it works in real life. Can you give me an example that's not about me sending PDFs? I'm calling from Harry's Minecraft room.
Sure. Let's take a typical exchange in a shop. The shop assistant says to the customer, "Would you like to try this on?" The assistant is making a proposal, goods and services. The customer can accept, "Yes, please," or reject, "No, thank you, I'm just watching."
Okay, so that's modulation.
Yes, it's a proposal expressed through modulation, very soft obligation or inclination. The speaker is gently encouraging action.
Right. And what if the assistant says, "This is the best jacket in the store"?
That's a proposition, information. The customer can agree or disagree with it. But the sentence also contains appraisal.
How?
Best jacket is appreciation, a positive evaluation of the thing. And best also increases the intensity of the evaluation. That's graduation, force.
So one sentence can contain both proposition and appraisal.
Exactly. The proposition gives information, while appraisal adds evaluation and positioning.
But wait, how does proposition connect to modulation? Can they work together?
Very often. Think about this sentence. You should try this on. That's a proposal with modulation. The speaker wants the customer to do something.
Okay.
But behind many proposals, there's also an implied proposition. In this case, something like, "This jacket would suit you," or "This jacket fits you well."
So the proposal asks for action, but the proposition gives the reason behind it.
Exactly. The proposal is the action layer. The proposition is the informational layer supporting it.
I'm playing Minecraft, not looking up. I'd just steal the jacket. Faster transaction.
Harry, this is linguistics, not organised crime.
Same semantic field.
Professor, what about engagement? You said something about expanding and contracting dialogue?
Good question. Imagine the assistant says, "Obviously, this is the best jacket." The word obviously contracts the dialogue. It presents the statement as if disagreement is unreasonable.
So that's contraction.
Yes, engagement contraction. The speaker closes down alternative positions.
And if they say, some people say this is the best jacket.
That's engagement expansion. The speaker opens space for other voices and other viewpoints.
So some people say is heterogloss.
Exactly. Multiple voices are acknowledged. But obviously this is the best jacket is much more monoglossic. Only one position is presented.
Okay, but when I'm analysing something, what do I actually look for?
Look for three things: attitude, affect, judgment, appreciation; engagement, expansion and contraction; graduation, force and focus. Then ask, is this a proposition or a proposal? Is the modality modalization or modulation?
Can you give me another example? Maybe from a lecture?
Sure. Imagine an assistant professor says, "You must consider this framework." That's a proposal with strong modulation element, obligation.
And the word must?
Must strongly contracts the dialogic space because it leaves little room for alternative positions.
And if the assistant professor says, this framework might be useful,
That's different. Now we're dealing with a proposition plus modalization, probability. And because of might, the dialogue is more open. That's engagement expansion.
okay, I think I finally get it. Appraisal theory is about how speakers evaluate things, position themselves, and manage other viewpoints.
Exactly. It's about what speakers are doing interpersonally through language.
Do you know why skeletons don't fight each other?
This is an old one. They don't have the guts.
Proposition?
Exactly. You can say that's true or false. It's information. Now, if I said, "You must stop telling those awful jokes," that's a proposal with modulation, obligation, engagement contraction, no room for argument.
See? Even skeletons know when to quit. Harry out. For now.
Scene 3. Luke's outro quiz. Volume 3. Luke, to camera. This time I got 6 questions for you, since this is a bit complicated, at least for me. So let's check if you understood. As always, the answers are included with the PDF file that the professor already mentioned, which is pasted underneath the video. This time I got 6 questions for you, since this is a bit complicated, at least for me. So let's check if you understood. As always, the answers are included with the PDF file that the professor already mentioned, which is pasted underneath the video. Question 1. In the sentence, "Would you like to try this on?" is the speaker asking for action or giving information? Question 2. In the sentence, "This is the best jacket in the store," does the speaker present one clear answer or multiple possible viewpoints? Question 3. What word in "Some people say this is the best jacket" opens space for other voices and viewpoints? Question 4. In the sentence, "This framework might be useful," does "might" sound certain or uncertain? Question 5. In the sentence, "You must consider this framework," does the speaker suggest choice or no real choice? Question 6. In the sentence, "This is the best jacket," what is the speaker evaluating? Check your answers against the PDF below the video. If you got most of them right, you're getting this. If not, Watch the segment again. It's not difficult, you just need to notice what the speaker is doing. See you in the next volume.
Well, that was it on SFL today. I understood maybe 12% of it, but I won my battle. So emotionally, I'm thriving. See you later. Harry finally out, meeting Quentin and Jasper.